Meet the computer you can talk to. With Copilot on Windows, working, creating, and collaborating is as easy as talking. Got writer's block? Share your screen with Copilot Vision to help spark inspiration, and use Copilot Voice to have a conversation and brainstorm ideas. Or maybe you need some tech help. With Copilot Vision, Copilot sees what you see. Let Copilot talk you through step-by-step guidance so you can master new apps, games, and skills faster. Try now at windows.com/Copilot.
Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. Enjoy comfortable rooms and friendly service when you stay with Hilton instead. Save up to 25% this season when you book with Hilton. Hilton for the stay. Terms apply.
Electricast.
Believable, human, and it tells this amazing story.
This movie's amazing. It kind of blew me away, but it's kind of like infuriating at the same time.
God, people need to start smoking again.
I would have voted for All the President's Men back then. Like, I was shocked that it didn't win.
But it's Robert Redford. I mean, how bad could it be?
Robert Redford is hot, and that is our conclusion.
Welcome to episode 303 of Film Generations, where two guys from the 20th century select a classic movie to show a panel of young film lovers and see if it still plays for today's generation. I'm Mark Netter, an instructor at the Los Angeles Film School and co-founder and CEO of Electricast Media, and a sometime filmmaker.
I'm David Taussig. I was 13 years old when the Watergate break-in happened.
I'm Guy Lewis. I am a graduate of the Los Angeles Film School, and I watched 118 movies this year.
I'm Jake Flowers. I'm a student at the Los Angeles Film School, and I'm a costume history nerd.
And we have a very special first-time guest for this episode.
Hi, I'm Monika. I'm an NYU student studying screenwriting and producing.
In 1974, Washington Post reporters Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein released their nonfiction account of their reporting on the Watergate hotel break-in and subsequent cover-up by President Richard Nixon and his cronies in the huge best-selling book, All the President's Men. At first, the break-in at the Democratic National Committee in June 1972 was ignored until these two intrepid reporters dug out the true story, climaxing with the first resignation by a sitting president in all of U.S. history on August 8, 1974. Shepherded by lead actor Robert Redford as Woodward, who cast Dustin Hoffman as Bernstein, this real-life procedural was turned into a taut political paranoia thriller by director Alan Pakula, with an authenticity that included recreating the Washington Post newspaper offices so authentically on a Hollywood soundstage, they even shipped in actual trash from the wastebaskets in the real offices. Nominated for 8 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, it won 4. For Best Supporting Actor, with Jason Robards as legendary Post editor Ben Bradley, Best Adapted Screenplay, Art Direction, and Sound. Now, this is a rather timely choice for Film Generations, as here we are 50 years later, and it seems we have another Republican president with his own disregard for the U.S. Constitution. So, does All the President's Men still smell like fresh newsprint, or, as the saying goes about yesterday's news, is it only fit for wrapping fish? Let's find out from our panel of young film lovers. All right. Aside from myself and David, who both saw it in the original release, was this the first time for the three of you seeing this movie?
Yep.
Definitely.
Wow. I want to go to Jake first, since we haven't seen you for a bit, and we're so happy to have you back. What was your reaction when you watched this movie?
Of course, my reaction was Robert Redford so hot. But I kind of went back to American history. My professor in high school was awesome and had a hyperfixation about the Watergate scandal. So watching it just was remembering that history lesson and then kind of doing my own little history research, trying to remember the facts as I was watching the film unfold.
Did you find yourself going down the rabbit hole a little bit?
Yeah, I was like, how the hell did this even happen? And I feel like if I was alive at the time, I would have been like so hooked on the story.
Guy, what about you? What was your reaction watching this?
Well, this movie's amazing. It kind of blew me away, but it's infuriating at the same time. See how like journalism is different from then to now. It's not even like about like, well, now it's all digital. Now it's no more newspapers, but it took a lot of effort for them to get their story out. Whereas nowadays it's like, oh, I just got a string of words. I'm just gonna put it on the internet, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, then whatever. It's kind of just infuriating that we don't live in that time of journalism anymore. That's stupid.
Yeah, I was so curious because Watergate has always been so elusive to me. And just watching it, I was like, these guys are at the office at 11:30 p.m. And I'm like, why are you still at work, dude? Like, the work-life balance in the United States, to me, that's what I was stressed about. But yeah, no, I think the more we went into that rabbit hole, the more it was because these characters were going into their own as journalists, imagining how many things that they're probably protecting, why they're doing it, how many more operations are probably going on, because this was just one thing that, that they discovered. And I'm like, how much more is there?
So tip of the iceberg.
Yes, definitely.
So David, why don't you give us a little bit of what it was like in 1976 to watch it and how you felt now?
Yeah, I remember seeing the film, and even though I followed Watergate pretty closely because everyone was talking about it, everyone was watching the Watergate hearings on TV with Sam Irwin, and I was glued to it too. And yet I was still confused about all these names. So even by the time the film came out in 76, I was like, oh, right. So that's what happened, is the FBI was trying to cover up the fact that, blah, 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 blah. I was still kind of figuring it out. Now seeing it 50 years later, it was like a blast from the past. I was being reminded of how complicated this whole thing was. And I remembered all the names. I remember Ehrlichman and Haldeman. I mean, these are like strong characters in my psyche from when I was a teenager. And I was really wondering if somebody coming to this movie now could make any sense of it all. I mean, there's a lot of people that no doubt you've never heard of that were in Nixon's cabinet or whatever. They're now pretty obscure figures unless you know about Watergate. How do you even make sense of this movie?
Yeah,
that's really what I wonder.
I really want to ask that question. For our young panelists, were you guys confused by the names? Did it take you out of the movie, or were you still able to follow it?
I was definitely confused by the names. I was like doing my searches on my phone while the movie was unfolding. Yeah. But still at the end, I was like, I feel like I need to make a tree chart of all of the people they've mentioned in this film.
What about the rest of it?
I didn't feel that at all. I mean, it kind of just, I did watch it 3 times, but also this movie rocks. I don't know. I just love movies like this. It was very intriguing, and it was easy to follow, but also kind of knew what the deal was. It wasn't like I didn't know how the whole thing was going to go. I thought it was clear.
I feel like there's this thing about being so specific. Like, if they had just referred to like the Attorney General, I would have been like, okay, and like, tell me who these people are, even if I don't know. So I think, like, yes, we were in the dark a bit, but aren't you in every movie? Like, they're supposed to kind of tell you what world you're in. So I actually felt like they did that in a really great way, where they were naturally just referring to these names like Haldeman, and eventually I was like, who's this Haldeman guy? Like, I need to meet him. And so I think I liked that the names were in there. I mean, it's no different than kind of the way we refer to politicians nowadays with their last names and, the little connotation or the tone that you talk about them in.
So does it add to the realism that they're not sitting there stopping to explain everything to you like it's a 1940s movie? No,
yeah, 100%.
I liked how it's part of the joke, how Redford didn't really know who these people were, and his bosses were like, I'm glad that you came and talked to me about it, because if you talked to the other guy, you'd have been fired.
Yeah.
So what's the genre of this movie?
Genre is always a hard question, man. There's no robots.
I found something about this director sort of creating this specific genre, almost like paranoia, almost like a thriller-esque. There were scenes, especially in like the parking garage, where I was like, is this a thriller? Should I be scared right now? But yeah.
I thought when the movie came out, it was fresh in that way. It's a newspaper movie, I guess, but it doesn't feel like any other newspaper movie I saw before this. A bunch of cigar chopping guys and talking fast and being really wise. And
stop the presses.
That's right. Yeah. Right. This wasn't like that. This was, so realistic. It's almost like a docudrama.
But it was also advertised as like the greatest detective story of the 20th century.
Yeah, see, that's the way I felt too. Especially with the part about Deep Throat. It was like super spy novel. You know what I'm saying? Seeing Redford in this whole thing kind of reminded me of this other Redford movie that was in that I love, Spy Game. It had a similar feel. And the garage scenes, oh man, those scenes were kind of like noir, right? You know what I'm saying? Because you only saw his eyes. The shadows fell on him really cool. The sneaking around at the opera house, that part. Oh,
Yeah, how about the scene where they're in the garage and they hear a car?
Yeah.
And Redford turns around, when he turns back, Deep Throat's gone.
And then I really loved the 3 a.m. scene where they're both at the house typing on the typewriter and they're like being watched. And I almost feel like they feel very self-important where they're like, our lives are in danger. And I'm like, I feel like you're journalists. You're pursuing Watergate.
Yeah, I think one of the things about the movie is it's shot by Gordon Willis. He's the cinematographer who, we just covered Godfather and Godfather 2, which are his other two super classics, along with, I guess some others. His nickname was Prince of Darkness when he was
We also covered Manhattan. We did 4 Gordon Willis movies in about the space of 8 films.
Wow.
Not intentionally.
He's just like a mark of quality.
One thing struck me so hard when I first saw this movie. That set for the Washington Post with all those fluorescent lights above, I'd never seen anything like that. Like, nobody wanted to shoot with fluorescent lights, because they're ugly. And so embracing that ugly look of that huge bank of lights really was impressive at the time. It was like, wow, this is real. This is something gritty.
Yeah. So I think there is that aspect to it. Did you feel that anything in the movie was overly theatrical at all?
what do you mean by that?
Well, I'll tell you this. The only thing that I felt was theatrical when I first saw it is the last time Redford leaves Deep Throat and he's running through the streets and he does that thing where he turns around and the camera just gets him in close up, but there's nothing there. Mm-hmm. And I remember even when I first saw it back in 1976, I thought, oh, that's the only thing that feels like they've like kind of hyped it up for movies. But
there's one speech I never loved. Maybe this is just me, but Jason Robards delivers a speech saying, you know what's at stake? The U.S. Constitution and freedom as we know it and democracy. And I felt like that's like the one note, you know, where they put in a little speech. And I just don't think the newspaper editor would say that.
That won the Oscar.
But I think that they had to like hype some of it up. And am I correct in that this was based on a book, right? This film?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what happened was after they did the reporting, they published the book, All the President's Men. And the title is a play on All the King's Men by Robert Penn Warren, which was a book and an Academy Award-winning Best Picture, Best Actor movie from the 40s, 50s.
Yep.
The biggest thing that William Goldman did in writing the screenplay was he decided to only take the first half of the book up to where they identified Haldeman, number two man to Nixon in the White House, as being implicated. And so there's another half of this that could have been done as well, but it would have been another 2.5 hours, taking us all the way through resignation, which they just do with the teletypes at the end.
I think it's a great decision, and it really works in this movie. But to me, the most fun part of the Watergate scandal is everything after that. It's Nixon accidentally admitting that he had recorded everything that happened in the White House, and then saying, "Oh, I don't have the tapes." And then it turns out that Rosemary Woods, the secretary who erased them, had
18 minutes, 18-minute gap.
18 minutes, and it was like that scene in Severance where you have to like hold one button on one side of the room and another button on the other side of the room in order to do it. That's what you had to do to erase those tapes.
Yeah, she did a demonstration for the cameras, and it was so ridiculous. Everybody was laughing.
Right.
I was at summer camp when Nixon resigned, and everybody crowded around the one TV that was in the nurse's cottage. And we were like 30 of us, and we all like cheered.
Yeah. Yeah, it was exciting.
All right, I want to talk about the human story in this movie, because I think one of the things that's incredible about this film is the acting. And I think it really gives you this feeling for what these guys are going through. And arguably Robert Redford's best performance.
Well, it depends what you like. I mean, Butch Cassidy is a lot of fun. He gets to kind of step out more in Butch Cassidy. You have the Sting, pretty good.
Great.
Although he's overshadowed by Paul Newman, because Paul Newman's even better than he is. What surprises me about this movie, Redford's good, and Dustin Hoffman doesn't really upstage him, because we know Dustin Hoffman is a major scenery chewer and an incredibly great actor, and he doesn't really try to compete with Redford. It's not like these Redford-Newman films where you feel like they're kind of one-upping each other all the time, and who's going to give the better performance. They both let their performances really serve the story and the roles. Nobody was trying to like go out and grab that Oscar in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
No, they worked
I think
really.
too. You go ahead. Sorry, girl.
No,
go ahead.
no, you go. You go.
I was just gonna say, I think learning a little bit how Robert Redford came to the story before I started watching kind of gave me a framework for his performance and like how impassioned he was about the political landscape at the time, and just, you know, how invested he was in the story on a personal level. I could see that in his performance. And I felt, even though they weren't really competing to be the best in the film, my eye was just drawn more to Robert Redford's performance. And not because he's attractive, but just because, I don't know, there was something about like how real it came off to me. When I was reading about his activism, I was reminded of Jane Fonda, maybe a little less radical, but he was unique in that he was so outspoken about environmental issues and what was happening politically. And he was a trustee of the NRDC, the Natural Resource Defense Council.
Wow.
And he used his platform whenever he could. Part of his activism was his purchase of what he called the Sundance Resort, which is near where Sundance Film Festival now takes place, which he also founded the Sundance Institute. He was so passionate about preserving the land from being overdeveloped, and he just really found something that he cared so deeply about and connected it to his career in Hollywood. And I think finding this story was part of that as well, in that he purchased the rights to the story from the journalists before it even became published. And he realized, if I can get Hoffman on, and it's me and Hoffman, like, all eyes will be on the story.
Yeah, I think they really complemented each other. I was remembering Rain Man. That's kind of my first Dustin Hoffman movie. And, you know, in that movie, him and Tom Cruise are combating each other all the time, because that's just their characters as well. And in this one, you know, Dustin Hoffman, he's much younger. He's like I don't know how many cigarettes he went through. He went through a lot, though. And I was like, were they smoking real ones at the time? A lot of the other characters were just so anxious and stressed and scared. I really enjoyed when he would just be sitting back and thinking and smoking a cigarette, and the editor would be like, "Why aren't you guys done yet?" Or, you know, "Where is this going?" So I think they all like worked together, and it almost felt like there was room for some improv.
Yeah.
Annika, did you have a favorite scene?
One of my favorite scenes was when one of the other reporters comes in with a new piece of evidence, and the lead goes, "Is it because you slept with it? Were you gonna sleep?" Like, you know, and I just thought that was hilarious, because she's on the phone with him, and then the editor's on the phone with that politician, and the politician, he's freaking out. And I just thought that was a really great way to frame how much of a hierarchy it all is, and how much of a web everything is, because the distance between your friends and your colleagues and everything, it's really blurred. And moments where they were at that other politician's house and he was giving information he later denied that he had.
Hugh Sloan.
But yes, and every time they were at his house, they were always like, "How's the baby?" And, you know, I just thought, you know, the way they would talk, the way they would interview people, it was, you got to get to know a person, you got to make them trust you.
Yeah, I've got a wife, a kid, a dog, and a cat.
Yes,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Guy, what about you? What's your standout scene or scenes?
Man, there's so many. So first of all, I could not keep my eyes off of Hoffman, right? So I did a little bit of research on the guy.
Carl Bernstein?
Yeah, the guy that Hoffman played, because his guy's wife was like a filmmaker too. And
Nora
so,
Ephron.
yeah, Nora Ephron, there you go. So it was kind of like, I started looking at Dustin Hoffman and why Hoffman's name showed up first, I think. And I might be screwing this up, but
No,
I think you see Hoffman.
Here's what
ahead.
they did. There's a very interesting thing in the credits. In the poster, Redford's name is first. In the movie credits, Hoffman's name is first.
See, that's the thing, right? So, because I knew Redford produced too, right? Produced this one too. And
He
so,
had optioned the book, yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, these are two heavyweights, but I think that the fact that Hoffman looks so similar to the guy really just made me just pay attention to the whole thing. And then he was so cool. I mean, like the way he would sit down, he just start talking to girls and stuff, and he's just like, relax, hey, just tell me everything you want to. You know, like everything you're gonna try to not tell me, I want you to tell me right now. You know, and just with a huge smile and he's getting all kinds of information. But I guess if I got to pin a favorite scene, it's the very last scene where you get the cannon fire as Nixon is giving his
Inauguration speech.
statement. Yeah, this statement is like the cannon fire, and then you got the reporters typing on their typewriter, and that sounds like gunfire. You know what I'm saying? So it's like burn, 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 like they're about to go to war. And
That's funny. Something I noticed this last time, because I also watched it twice, is the TV is positioned in the foreground. They're typing in the background, and they're doing the 21 gun salute, and it looks like they're shooting at the reporters.
Oh. And then all the tracking shots were just tasty. Like tracking shots going from Robard's office to the bullpen was so good. And then like the one where Redford was walking to the phone booth outside in front of that building. That shot was just it's such great shots. It's really cool for that.
Jake, what about you?
I personally loved all of the like film noir-esque shots with the shadowy figure and you hear a sound and they're in the garage. Those are all my favorites that were really just like when I was locked in for me.
Yeah, I'm sure David will go into Alan Pakula, but his previous movie, The Parallax View with Warren Beatty, one of my favorites, and it is a hardcore political paranoia movie that basically suggests there's a company that will do political assassinations and they're recruiting assassins. And Beatty's a journalist, again, right, who goes in and tries to pass their test to become an assassin.
And just reports on it? Wow,
Well, I can't tell you the ending, but it is a lot darker than this one.
It's called Parallax what?
Parallax View. Gotta see it.
Oh, it's on the list.
Yeah.
So there's a scene that I liked a lot that I hadn't even really remembered from previous viewings. I haven't seen this movie in about 20 years. And it's the one where Dustin Hoffman goes to the home of the secretary, Jane Alexander, I guess. That whole scene is really, really interesting. The way that he pulls the crucial piece of information. She's like the one that gives him the first real smoking gun that they can break in the paper. And, normally a scene like that would be done in such a different way than they did in this movie. In this movie, it just really plays out in this kind of natural way. You're not sure where it's going to lead. And it kind of meanders its way over to her sort of reluctantly, eventually relenting and giving more and more stuff. And they just don't use any of the usual movie techniques to kind of make you feel like, oh, she had to, they tricked her into it, or, he got her. There's none of that. There's it just happens in such a natural way. I really loved the scene for that.
One of the scenes that I always love every time I see it, and it's a Hoffman scene where he goes out to Marina del Rey, flies across country to interview Donald Segretti.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
And it's just so fascinating because Segretti was this guy who was doing dirty tricks starting in college for college elections. And he greets Hoffman at the door almost like he's expecting him. And he's got a big smile. He's a very toothy guy, great performance. And they're sitting outside. And over the course of the conversation, and Hoffman is leaning way back like he does, right? And Segretti said, well, what would you do? You just come out of the army and you get a chance to work for, the President of the United States. And he goes, I'm probably going to be disbarred and go to prison, which is confirmed at the end of the movie in the teletype. And he gets sad. And he kind of goes from being this happy-go-lucky guy to being a guy who so aware of what he's done and what his fate is going to be. And you have so much, I felt I have sympathy for him.
Oh, yeah.
Even though he's a bad guy.
Yeah. I mean, also, you know, this movie specifically was going up against a big stacked lineup of Rocky, of Taxi Driver, and you know, they were all at the Academy Awards. I want to kind of know, like, what was that from your end as, you know, young guys watching that?
I have something to say about that because I said this recently to a friend. It's up against Network, which I think, you know, talk about one of the great cynical, political, social, great movies of all time. And then there's All the President's Men, and there's, I think, Coming Home.
No, it was Bound for Glory. Bound for Glory.
Thank you. Okay, and Taxi Driver. Right. So all those are good. And then, you know, Rocky's in there. Rocky's like a pleasing film. But when Rocky won... when
Stars
Rocky
Born.
Won,
That sounds a little opposition I'm hearing.
well, that's right. Yeah. I mean, look, when Rocky won the Best Picture Oscar, you know, which, I mean, let's face it, it's a boxing picture. You know, it's not nearly as important as Taxi Driver or Network or All the President's Men. It doesn't come close. I'm sorry. And to me, okay, I know, and everyone will agree, but I'll tell you, to me, that's the moment when the specific film culture of the 70s died and the 80s film culture was born.
Okay,
because after that,
profound.
it's all Steven Spielberg and Star Wars. Yeah. That's all it is after that. It's like
David, I think that's unfair. I mean, clearly Rocky was better than those other movies because it had 7 or 8 sequels.
Okay, stop. All right, stop.
That's the standard.
You know, though, far be it for me to be. I mean, well, you know, I really think that was. Okay, we're not talking about Stallone right now, but the Rocky movie was important, so I'm gonna just leave it at that. But
look, when it came out, it was important, and I remember having a conversation with I had a great English teacher, Jocelyn Jerry, who used to talk about these movies that were coming out at the time as being like great novels. Like Nashville came out around that time, and we talked about Rocky being like a great American novel. So I appreciated it. But I mean, you think about like Taxi Driver, right? What Leonardo DiCaprio calls the greatest independent movie ever made in America, right? You think about Network, which predicted the future of television, that basically predicted our current climate. You know, Bound for Glory is less seen, but it was about Woody Guthrie and labor history in America. And I would have voted for All the President's Men back then. Like, I was shocked that it didn't win. I thought it was an important movie because it literally was about America, you know, our government. You know, Rocky is about a myth of America.
I didn't understand why Robards won supporting actor, though.
Oh, he was great. And he was overdue.
I mean, it was great. Don't get me wrong. Jason Robards is awesome. But,
well, I mean
did he skip down below? I mean, just to get him on there? You know, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Ben Bradley was a big figure at the time. And, you know, you win Oscars for playing historical figures.
True. Yeah, I mean, I can respond to your question there of like why All the President's Men didn't win. I mean, first of all, the Academy has its opinion, obviously. And if you look back at Rocky, it's very individualist, emotional. And in a lot of ways, that is the picture of America, or like that's the picture of the American dream.
Yep.
And I think with All the President's Men, it's such an important issue, but at the same time, in the way that it's documented, and when I was reading the Times article in 1974 on this, they talk about how the book almost shaped the narrative too well. And, you know, as I was saying, these journalists were at the office till 11:30 p.m. and it almost started to become about their need. And that's almost what I feel like the movie didn't capture. It didn't fully kind of show how much these journalists needed to find this information, or what it said about the people on the ground of America, of what they thought about this. And again, the Academy has its opinions in terms of Sylvester Stallone having his big emotional debut and, you know, what it means to be a man and everything like that. But I will also, like, ask, like, yes, we all solved the story and like we figured out who done it, but now what?
Well, I agree with you, first of all, that those are the two stars of the movie, Woodward and Bernstein, are not really fully fleshed out characters. We don't know very much about them. They very intentionally don't go into their private lives or like you said, their motivation at all. And by the way, I wasn't asked, but had I voted for the Best Picture that year, I would have voted for Network. I mean, in retrospect, I might say Taxi Driver, but the truth is, at the time, I would have voted for Network. But this is a movie with no women in it to speak of. I mean, there's not a lot of female parts, and interesting because Pakula is famous for being somebody who won actresses Oscars or Oscar nominations.
He won it for Jane Fonda for Clute.
For Meryl Streep for Sophie's Choice, and for Liza Minnelli for Sterile Cuckoo.
She didn't get the Oscar for that. She got nominated, I think, but she didn't.
She got nominated. She got nominated for an Oscar for Sterile Cuckoo. I think also he got 2 Oscar nominations for Jill Clayburgh and Candice Bergen in Starting Over. This film, to me, it absolutely achieves, I think, every aim it tries to achieve. It's not like Lawrence of Arabia or something, because it doesn't have these amazing characters.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be right back.
With new, gentler scented Clorox disinfecting wipes, clean finally smells as good as it feels on everything from lamps to ceiling fans, even on your kid's toy shark. Oh, ouch. Clorox disinfecting wipes, now available in ooh, crisp lemon. Find it on Amazon. Clorox, clean feels good.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. Black Friday Game Day on Prime is an epic day of live sports. It all starts at 9 a.m. Eastern with the Capital One Skins game. Then, Black Friday football returns when the Bears take on the Eagles at 3 p.m. And it culminates with the final night of Emirates NBA Cup Group play with Bucks Knicks at 7 p.m. and Mavs Lakers at 10 p.m. Black Friday Game Day, only on Prime.
One of the questions I wanted to ask our young panelists, how did you feel watching a movie, it's about news and media, that's completely from the analog age, completely pre-digital age? Did that have any effect on you when you were watching it? Did you have any feelings about that or thoughts?
I think it just further pulled me into the era, seeing all the technology at the time. I was like, well, this is kind of archaic. Like the time it took for people to hear word of certain things happening, all the phone calling. Mm-hmm. I said, God, if somebody called me that many times, I don't answer phone calls.
Jake, what counts as archaic for you? Like, what is the threshold or the boundary?
Like typewriting.
Yeah.
So much paper.
Yeah.
I remember I had some friends who had a lot of 8s, 9s, and 0s in their phone number, and I didn't want to call them. It was like a lot of work on the dial, just waiting for the dial to come back.
Yeah, you're like, you're just not that important to me.
That was before push button phones. Yeah.
Not worth the extra 10
that's
seconds.
why, like, the most important cities like New York had the 212 area code. Mm-hmm. That you could do quickly.
And 213 for LA.
Right.
Yeah. Because you had to be able to dial quickly. And did you notice the very first thing you see in the movie is a super close-up of a typewriter key typing the date of the Watergate break-in, and it sounds like gunfire with every stroke.
It was just very relevant with how I imagine the keeping of the White House was at the time. Mm-hmm. All these papers can get lost. All these papers can also mark something forever and be evidence. Watching archaic or older movies, even 80s movies, to me, I love watching them because I'm like, this is just like a removed time from the digital age. It's really refreshing. I'm like, I don't have to worry about all the different movements happening on my Instagram or on my social media. I think it gets very overwhelming, and there's a lot of things you can't trust. And I think that's the the line that I connected with this movie and with today was just, you know, do we trust our government? Do we trust each other? And I think someone was saying this recently, that like our Gen Z, or like this generation, is the most anxious generation ever. And yeah, I think with the news, that's how I feel. But with this, it felt so removed. You know, it's over and done with, but I imagine it was probably different when you were all probably like Nixon, please leave.
I think the whole country was anxious for Nixon to resign by the end of it. Even people that supported him were just really sick of, you know, him trying to dodge, you know, these crimes that he'd currently been involved in. And, you know, what's amazing about the Watergate hearings is all the people on the panel that are prosecuting Nixon, they're Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah, I mean, the 3 Republican senators went to the White House and convinced Nixon that it was time to go, and that's when he resigned.
Yeah, I can't imagine either party doing that today.
No.
Cringe.
Yeah.
Good trench.
Just to get a sense of the Watergate hearings, like when the Watergate hearings started, everybody was watching them all the time. And I remember going to visit with an elderly couple that my parents knew on Cape Cod. And they're just sitting there smoking cigarettes all day watching the Watergate hearings.
Oh, I can't wait to be them.
Were they smoking with children in the room?
Yes.
Holding a baby, nursing?
Yep.
Oh my God.
The good old days.
And the baby's wheezing, and they're like, put the baby in the other room, it's wheezing.
God, people need to start smoking again.
No, it's so much better.
No, it's it's all e-cigarettes from now on.
Right. Oh,
even more
not glamorous.
I want to mention another kind of shooting in the movie. I kind of broke it down, and tell me if this rings true to you guys. I think there's basically 8 types of scenes in the movie. The biggest ones are the newsroom scenes and then the interviews. That's most of the movie. Then you got the deep throat scenes, which stand out stylistically so much to all of us, right? And that's where you feel like you're really watching a movie. It's movie time when Deep Throat's in there, right? Then you've got the TV news, which is kind of irony. You see Gerald Ford announcing that Nixon's been nominated at the Republican convention. At the very end, last thing you see on the teletype is Gerald Ford sworn in as president. And then you got the newspapers being delivered to the White House, right? That happens twice, which is very ominous. You know, the guy driving to the White House with a stack of newspapers on the passenger seat. You got the teletype scenes, right? And the scenes where it's small, unknown guys, our 2 heroes, being dwarfed by the big world, where the camera pulls back from them driving, like one time after they got screwed over with the Hugh Sloan story. And I think one of the most amazing things, and Annika, goes to what you were saying about paper back in those days. You guys remember the scene where they go to try to find out what books the White House checked out of the Library of Congress?
Yeah.
And the clerk says, okay, what do you want, all for last year? And he says, well, I got them if you want to go through them. And it's just a bunch of little paper stubs. Mm-hmm. And they're going through them, and the camera's overhead on them in the Library of Congress, really shot there. And then it kind of pulls back and dissolves. Do you guys remember that scene?
I really remember the camera. I was so curious, like, what you all think that means in terms of the camera zooming out and us seeing that whole hall. Like, was it just, oh, we're shooting in Congress, or what do you think that means?
It just kind of reminded me, the driving scene in particular, of like, I don't know, like a Western where it's one vigilante guy on a horse and the camera zooms way out and the whole desert's in the background. You're like, is he going to take on the whole world by himself? You know, that's the vibe I kind of got from those.
Nice.
You always get a cowboy Western reference from Jake. Pretty cool. No, the way that the camera moved in this movie just really enhanced the storytelling. Like for that scene which is one of my 10 scenes because of the black guy, but you saw him all over the newsroom. You know, they were like in the middle ground, and don't even start about foreground, middle ground, background. But you know, you'd see them in the middle ground, just like doing stuff, but they're like, you can tell that they kind of like dress better than everybody. It was it was a lot of story there, you know, because that's pretty typical with Black people in fashion and going to work. You know, you usually see them, not me, of course, but most other people, you see them, really rocking fresh gear. And I just thought that their style in this movie was incredible. But when they zoomed out over Redford and Dustin Hoffman, it just made me feel like how it's getting swallowed by all this red tape and bureaucracy and paperwork. This movie was really, really great. Did a bunch of good things.
There's one other shot I want to mention. It's an unbroken take that goes on for 4 minutes or 5 minutes. That's just Robert Redford in kind of a head and shoulders shot, doing reporting on the phone, calling different people. And do you guys remember this? Because it doesn't kind of announce itself, but after a while, I'm like, wait a minute, have they
Is
not
this
cut?
still happening? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my feeling. I was like, how many times is he going to call people?
He's calling that
God.
campaign donor, right, whose check ended up somehow in the hands of one of the Watergate burglars. And he has to call him twice. And there's this weird thing. The guy in the middle of the scene says, I can't talk right now. My neighbor was kidnapped.
Yeah.
And Redford doesn't react.
What?
Really, Redford just kind of asks another question, and then the guy hangs up on him, and then he calls him again. It's great. And then it's a very weird shot. The other half of the shot is all these people in the background of the newspaper office, and they're all in focus too. So they must have used a split diopter or something, because there's no way you could. Yeah, right.
Damn it! You bring up all the stuff all the time talking about this movie. Now I got nothing.
And I don't know if I should say that. I mean, a split diopter for our audience is where you
wait. Let me do it. Right. So a split diopter, what it is it allows two things that are in two different positions in the frame to be equally in focus at the same time. So the object that's really closer to the camera can still be in focus, while the object really far away from the camera can also be in focus.
What's the oldest movie we did that used that technique over and over again?
Are you asking?
Yeah. I mean,
Pop quiz?
It's an old technique. It was in Citizen Kane a ton.
Oh, yeah, but no one likes Citizen Kane anymore.
But I think
give that a 3. I don't know. We scored that low.
It's also in modern times. Chaplin used it as well.
Jake likes Citizen Kane, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Jake likes Citizen Kane and Rocky, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I just, I love. Well, actually, I don't really care for Rocky, if I'm being completely honest. But
No, the life changer for Jake was Stagecoach.
Oh,
yeah. Stagecoach, yeah.
Don't even friggin' get me started on Stagecoach.
So I want to dive into one other thing before we get into the research you guys have done. Kind of the defining aspect of all the characters in the movie is their morality in relationship to this potential government corruption. You have a really interesting scene where Hoffman goes down to Florida and he's trying to get in to meet with this guy who had booked a meeting with him. And something's clearly happened. The secretary's not letting him in. So he does a trick on the secretary. He gets in and surprise, it's Ned Beatty, which is a big treat, who also was amazing in Network that year in a single scene role. But, the question, is this guy actually going to give any information, and how much information is he going to give? And I feel like everybody in this movie is kind of defined by their morality in relationship to this central issue. I mean, did this ring true to anybody, what I'm saying?
I think I had trouble with that because kind of what other panelists were saying about how distrustful our generation is of the government in today's current climate. I think our stay at rest is yeah, they're lying. They do not have our best interests at heart. Why are y'all surprised that they're lying or that they don't want to tell you the whole truth? And then I had to kind of put myself back and think, oh, okay, well, maybe they're just not where we are now in their frame of distrust for the government. So I think without that strong moral lead from each character, that it would have almost felt like they were just out to get the powers that be, if you know what I mean. The audience in the 70s may have been oh, they're just distrustful, but I think because they framed it as oh, it's the right thing to do, they have to uncover the truth, that it read better, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about around the times, right? So this is post Vietnam, right? And so the level of distrust for the government, I think, is pretty high, especially around the youth of that era, that time. Isn't that the time when they said don't trust anybody over 30? Isn't that where that kind of comes from? And so I seen that kind of as a motivation between Redford and Hoffman's characters, the way that they were just able to just handle the phone calls. Like the guy will say something and Redford's like, well, didn't you just say blah, 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 blah a minute ago? And, starts asking the correct questions. Or when he was grilling that guy when they were in court, when they had the 5 guys that got caught, and you had the lawyer there, and Redford was like, hey, who are you?
And the guy goes, I'm not here.
I'm not here. And obviously I'm here, but I'm not here. And well, aren't you like a big deal lawyer? Then why'd you show up? It was just handling these guys. And I just felt like people were smarter back then. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't want to talk about, this is not generational. Although we did, the thing that happened for the election happened for the election. I'm not going to weigh in here and get us canceled. But I just think that kind of level of journalism is not rewarded today or celebrated, right? So you may have a guy lying on TikTok, and I don't think it matters. But if they had a guy lying on a video camera back then, open shut case, but now it doesn't really matter,
Well, we have a fractured news environment now, right? Back then we watched 3 news channels every night. And so there was like a consensus. And nowadays everything is polarized. You have Fox News, which cannot bring itself to criticize the president to save its life because half the people in the cabinet are from Fox News.
Then you have MSNBC.
How does that happen in America? That's the crazy part.
So
That's not the craziest thing.
we have a very polarized environment. I mean, I think people are about as smart as their circumstances allow them to be. And so I think we're in a challenging environment for people to be smart in.
And also the media machine, right? The ease of passing around bullshit is super easy because all you need to do is just put it on the net. Whereas in early 2000s, 90s, 80s, you had to print that on a piece of paper.
You had the tabloids.
Yeah. But even that, what I'm saying, didn't really, it had to be good bullshit to be in the tabloids. It couldn't just be random bullshit because you had to spend the money to print out the paper. You had to spend the money to move those papers across country. It was a startup cost where there's zero. I can write down saying that I have all the names on this list that supposedly doesn't exist anymore, and put it on the net, what I'm saying, for zero money.
Well, welcome to democracy. That's the democratization of media. So.
Yeah, I think that's true. Like now anyone can say anything. It is getting harder and harder to get viral though, but a lot of our younger generation wants also, at least I feel this way, to be told how to feel. I made some recent friends in LA and I love them, they're great, but I do feel a lot of our banter, a lot of our conversation revolves around, this person, we don't like them because they're a little colorist or they're a little bit sexist. And I'm all for that because obviously I'm a person of color who's a girl. But the amount that we are starting to label these things and make it a trend or shun people out, I was so shocked at, as you said, Mark, these people coming together in the film, trying to find the truth and tell Nixon to step down to move forward. I don't think that would happen today because it's just everyone wants to be in a place of power or everyone wants to be right.
David, what can you tell us about director Alan J. Pakula?
Well, he was born in 1928 in the Bronx to Polish Jewish immigrants. And he graduated from Yale Drama School. He worked at Warner Brothers and then Paramount, and he became an independent producer. So his first film as a producer was Fear Strikes Out with Anthony Perkins as a Major League ball player who suffers from bipolar syndrome. And the film was directed by Robert Mulligan. And Pakula produced 6 more pretty hard-hitting films with Mulligan directing, including To Kill a Mockingbird in 1962. In 1969, Pakula stepped into the director's chair. His first film was The Sterile Cuckoo, which won an Oscar nomination for Liza Minnelli. I think we mentioned that. She was the daughter of Judy Garland and director Vincent Minnelli. His second film, Clute, got an Oscar nomination for Jane Fonda. And I think that's where people discovered what a kind of complex auteur he was, of intelligent, human, and artistically compelling films. He was the first of his 6 collaborations with Gordon Willis, including in 1974, The Parallax View, which I would view as kind of his signature film, a paranoid thriller. And after The President's Men, there was 1978, Comes a Horseman. In 1979, starting over with Burt Reynolds, Sophie's Choice. And I'd say, like a lot of similarly intelligent directors, like Frankenheimer, Schlesinger, and Bogdanovich, I'd say his career kind of peaked in the mid-70s. All of them kind of did. But still, films like Presumed Innocent and The Pelican Brief and The Devil's Own are all worth checking out. Tragically, he was killed in 1998. He was driving on the Long Island Expressway, working on a project about FDR, when a metal pipe on the road was sent crashing through his windshield, and it killed him instantly. It was just a kind of shockingly random death, because it could have happened to anybody. But he really stands out as somebody that works well with actors, and he's well known for working well with actresses. He always took female roles as seriously as male roles, even at a time when that was not common. And he won a lot of Oscar nominations for a lot of actresses. And even though maybe there's 7 or 8 films only that are really, still, I would consider to be somewhat classics, I do think they're all worth checking out.
And Jane Fonda actually won the Oscar for Clute.
She did. And Clute, I think, might be my favorite of his films, although, it's really great. But, there are several good ones, including While the President's Men.
Donald Sutherland, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Donald Sutherland.
Great Donald Sutherland performance.
It's on the list.
We'll be right back with our panel's recommendations and ratings for All the President's Men.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode is brought to you by McAfee.
Swimsuit, passport, phone with VPN activated.
VPN?
Cell phone service is going to be spotty on vacation, so we'll be using public Wi-Fi.
Sounds sketchy.
Exactly. The networks can leave your personal info, like credit card numbers, exposed to hackers.
McAfee's secure VPN lets you browse and bank safely from wherever, whenever. Learn more at McAfee.com/online protection.
Okay, so it's time for us to do our recommendations and reviews. Want to know who you would recommend this to, if anybody? It is a 4-star system with half stars. 4 stars would be an A+. It would be on your top 25, 50 movies of all time. A 3.5-star movie is an A-rated movie, great film. A 3-star movie is an A-, which is typically a really good, interesting film that might be flawed. For the Bs, we have 2.5 stars for a B+, which is a good B movie, or it's a bad B movie. At 2 stars, a B-.
I would recommend this movie to a lot of really liberal people today. I think as someone who grew up in a very liberal California, I go to school in NYU, I agree and resonate and relate with a lot of the people, but I also think there's a lot of fear around how the system works. And I think that's so valid, but I want people to know what it's like on all sides of everything. And I think that this movie tries to show what it's like really with people protecting their own positions, people protecting their own families, and even journalists, maybe in a time where it wasn't so dangerous to do what they were doing. But I would probably rate this film around a 3. A 3.5, just to be kind. I think that it's not Rocky and Taxi Driver, but I will say it was, when we're talking about the industrial lighting, we're talking about how they were really just grounding it with not so much of an overpowering score. I think it's so grounded in that way.
So you got to pick 3 stars A- or 3.5 stars A.
Oh, I'm going to give it a 3. I'm sorry. I'm a hard critic.
Nice.
3 is fair. A-. It's
3's fair. It's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad.
It's not bad. It's a good movie, guys. I'm on your side
A- is a
here.
good movie. A- is a good movie. Guy, what about you?
Yeah, so as usual, everyone, everywhere, all the time should watch every movie ever made. Except for Dolomite. I just saw that one. No one should watch that movie. Ooh, bad. Funny, but awful. Anyway, no, this movie slapped. It rocks. You know what I'm saying? Is it life-changing? No. So it's a 3.5 for me.
Jake, what about you?
I'm also going to give it a 3.5. It, like was said previously, wasn't life-changing, but I still think it's a classic. And I think I would recommend it to people who love like detective movies or who are like history buffs. But it's Robert Redford. I mean, how bad could it be?
Robert Redford is hot, and that is our conclusion on the whole podcast. I hope you ended on this note.
It's Rob.
David, what about you?
So I'll tell you first the things that I don't think are great about the movie. I really love the movie, but it's a little dry. The characters are real, but they're not deep, rich characters. It's not like a deep, rich broth like Clute or some of the other Pakula films I've seen are. But here's on the plus side. It has a really unique look. It's very, very 70s. And best of all, it doesn't have any montages. Thank God. I think what's really great about this movie is that it really avoids all those like film tropes of let's find out what their romantic lives are like. Let's have the girlfriend show up or the wife show up and say, you never come home. They didn't do any of that stuff. Thank goodness. So I really appreciate the film for that. It really tells it like it is in true Pakula fashion. It's just believable. It's human. And it tells this amazing story. So I'm going to give it a 3.5 just for being a little bit unique and being a perfect version of what it is. And I'll say that I'll recommend it to anybody who likes 70s movies, who's interested in Watergate. Those are I think the 2 main criteria for me for recommending it.
All right. I would definitely recommend this to anyone who's interested in political movies, movies about journalism, and movies about the era, want to know what it was like at the time. To me, there are 2 things that kind of distinguish this movie above all the stuff that you guys are talking about in terms of the way it's shot and the realism and all that. One of them is I think the acting in this movie is uniformly great. Like even the scenes with the different editors sitting around the table, the conference room, deciding what they're going to put in. And it's like throwaway shit. You got Martin Balsam there, Jack Warden. I mean, and they're just, I mean, it feels like they're not Jack Warden and Martin Balsam. It feels like they're the real editors. And I love this certain little elements that they don't overemphasize, like the way Hoffman gets to the accountant. Is the sister clearly wants Hoffman to stay and ask her questions, but they don't overdo it. You know, it's just very well acted. There's a moment where they're talking to Hugh Sloan, and you've got Redford on the over on a chair, and you've got Hoffman in the couch. And at one point, you know, Hugh Sloan says, well, you got to understand, you know, I'm a Republican. And Woodward goes, you know, Redford goes, oh, so am I. And you just see this glance from Bernstein going like, what? And all those,
I love that moment.
Oh my God. And it's true. I mean, Woodward was a Republican. And so it was one of the crazy real life contradictions of what was going on. And then the other thing to me is that it's just so rare that I see a Hollywood movie where they use the money for the right thing. You know, this is kind of a little bit how I felt about Sinners. You spend $90 million on Sinners. Well, thanks God you didn't spend that on a sequel to some superhero movie. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like the idea that Redford put his clout behind this, and that he got this incredible, flawless cast, that he made this movie for 2.5 hours, that it goes all the way to Best Picture, wins the New York Film Critics Award and other things like that. It's like, and to make this thing that's an incredible document, and yes, it is cerebral compared to Rocky. It is not just an emotion movie, but because of the acting, I got enough of the characters. I understood the characters throughout. I know there was a version of the script they did at one point where they talked about Bernstein's girlfriends and stuff, and they got rid of that because that's not the story. And so to me, this is a 4-star movie that, is for all time and really a valuable document. That it's, it's obviously a quote unquote dramatization, but it doesn't feel fake. And that's my call on it.
3.5 stars. Nice.
All right. I want to give a warning to people. I rented it on Prime, and right as it got to the end of the movie, suddenly the movie becomes like this tiny little window, and the wheel is turning what it's going to show me next. And the movie wasn't over yet. So remember, if it does that to you before the movie seems over, go back down there, click on it again, open it up again, and you'll see that there's a huge thing at the end with the credits that tells you what happened at the end of the story, and that's very essential.
Yeah, I'm hating this on streaming right now. They do it at the end of Sinners 2 on Max before the last 2 scenes. It's crazy.
Right.
All the President's Men is available to rent on several different services, including Prime, with a warning from David, Apple TV, and Fandango, and regularly shows up on TCM and other broadcast outfits. It's also available for purchase on DVD and Blu-ray. You can find Film Generations wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and if you like our show, please tell your friends and rate and review us so others can find us as well. I'd like to thank our panelists, Jake Flowers, Guy Lewis, and special guest Annika Mathur, and our co-host and producer, David Tauzik. Film Generations is an Electrocast production. Our executive producers are Mark Netter and Peter Rafelson. Our editor is Josh Tillman. For our next episode, we head to France with a 1937 film that looks back at World War I, where a group of French soldiers have been captured by their German enemies and plot their escape. But what makes this prisoner of war movie stand out is its treatment of how social class structures transcend national differences. Starring Jean Gabin with an iconic performance by Erich von Stroheim, its co-writer and director Jean Renoir's Grand Illusion. Will our panel of young film lovers engage in the conflict or try to escape? Let's see who's still standing when the battle's over on our next episode of Film Generations.
Electrocast.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here, wishing you a very happy half-off holiday, because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day, yeah? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Electrocast.
Welcome to the Candle Power Hour. Come with us backstage behind the scenes of show business spanning over 4 decades and bringing you the experiences that can only be told by the people who were there.
Our guests are from the A-list, the F-list, and everyone in between. Get set for some of the most insane, hilarious, and inspiring stories you will ever hear.
I'm Mercury.
And I'm Diego.
Your host for the Candle Power Hour.